season is about to begin. It is Gibson, and for a little while only, one of my fellow Europeans and Matt, who spent some time in Paris, fresh off the plane, back for some PAS action. Look, it's nice, it's international and everything, Matt, but doesn't it feel good to just get back home and get back into some PAS action?
Oh, it's great to be getting back into some PAS action.
Teams that aren't here. The teams that aren't here, you think about it, like Liquid love George, Pachinki is always where you would see any of those Falcons rosters play. Like, which teams are going to be the ones that are going to say, you know what, they're not going to be our drop spots when we qualify, but we can take advantage of it today? And it looks like Pest Control are going to try to be that team that takes Pachinki in lieu of Falcons being here.
Pest Control, a squad that most people should be pretty familiar with. Yes, they are not playing with their de factos, as we often did see that this was the K-Mine squad that drew a lot of attention. But Joshi, Karam, Shamdo, and Hot and Spicy are going to be taking that one on right now, so we'll have to see how Pest Control manages to handle around Pachinki, because you hit a great point. As sooner or later, if you take a couple of these spots, you know that you're not going to have them for the later stages. So you are kind of throwing off your rotation plans and preparation by taking one of the better spots now, and then having to fight through it later. But looks like we do have a couple of dust-ups on drop that are brewing, leading a little bit down to the south around Quarry, and of course up to the north around Severny. Circle pops, and it goes down next to Ferry Pier, though.
Yeah, and remember, the faster circles really do up the tempo in these games, but keep an eye up on that north. You got Taysan dropping up there. Some shots are being fired off, but nothing really landing of note. But this is a fight, Matt, where the longer this lasts, the slower it's going to put these teams on rotation. Everyone is going to leapfrog both of these teams in, so it's really important that if you do stay and you commit to this fight, that you're the one that comes out strong and gets all the points.
Specifically controlling vehicles early are going to be the big thing, right? Making sure that you get vehicles on hot drops, or I guess lukewarm drops that we're looking at right now, are very, very important. So that way you can extricate and get ahead of that timing that you're talking about. Because, yeah, you can really end up stuck down here. So I love the fact that Taysan managed to get a vehicle. They're not going to make a commitment into loot. There's plenty of opportunities down to the south. And then whenever you also look at the circle, we're talking about how there was a bit of a centered meta. This is one that you're not going to get too punished on if you go early. You just got to make sure you pick the right spot, because it does have a lot of field in play, as well as, yeah, it still has military base. But I'm just looking at that area north of, I guess, where the bridge is, and that just looks like terrible to play.
Yeah, something worth pointing out as well, if you're willing to give up Severny so early in that hot drop without really fighting at all, what does that say about when we get to the final map of tonight and we go to Erangel once more? Like, are Taysan just going to find somewhere else to go ahead and drop in? I want to talk about another team as well, though. Like, we spoke about Pest Control. If anyone was watching the last set of Cups, there was a team called Injected, right? There was two players in that team called Choppy and Stokely that were really impressive. They did a lot of the good things that Injected were able to do. Matt, they have decided to, join forces with the New Gen All-Stars, who have made two changes. So now we have Punij and Shinboy, who to me are like, bread and butter. Those two players, when you think of one, the other one's usually playing not too far away. And then you add in Choppy and Stokely. It's a big change, but I actually like the dynamic that team could bring.
Yeah, it's a weird energy. Like, whenever you put Punij and Shinboy together, there could be memes galore, there can be tons of fun, but they were often seen as like the young guns, like back in the NPL start and everything else like that they were the up-and-coming squads. Now they're kind of taking on a role of bringing in some new up-and-comers, and I can only imagine how many memes are going on. And is there any Unk energy in that now with Punij and Shinboy? I'm curious.
So there's enough Unk energy between me and you without them players bringing in that energy.
Bro, I got all the big Unk energy. Give it to me.
That's what I love about esports. Like, you pop it on, and especially PUBG, all of us talent, we're here. We've been around. We can tell you guys how life is if you give us long enough on the mic, as we watch the worms getting up into the air, earthworms. We got Hooligan in that roster along with Langster. I think this is another team where it's either going to be a troll or they'll be trying to win. Like, you never really know with rosters like this how they're going to play.
One of their players is called lib-maxing. So take your choices. Trolling is potential. But even then, whenever you have good players, I don't necessarily like the idea of trolling per se. It's not like that's what they do. They just play a little bit more wild and throw off. They don't play, I guess, formulaic. And I don't think that that's a problem. We often see squads throughout the history of PUBG in Americas that have managed to find success by specifically fighting the meta and playing opposite of it.
I think I've worked out who Life Full of Sorrow is. I think it's Artoon. I think that's who it is on Fair Day and Worth Withholders. A player that I actually casted quite a bit whenever I used to do some of the European scrims and some of the little European tournaments. So you got Jam, Bizzler, Gats, and Artoon getting into the action. Look, I'm a Jam fan, always have been, but like Bizzler to me is a player who you have to keep an eye on. He is one of the top American young players. I think that we've still not seen the best of what he can bring, even though he's been in the scene for quite a few years now, Matt. Like, this is a team that I think...
I was going to say, young player.
It's PUBG. It's PUBG. So, there's... But you come on.
But it's like, I don't know. It's always hard whenever we define it, because like Bizzler's been in the scene for over half a decade at this point. He's so good, and the fact that it's always been like him trying to fight his way into a squad is just astounding to me. As he's just such a competent player.
I love it. Like, you think back in the last couple of years, he has had some of the biggest individual plays that we've seen, as the Earthworms doing the complete opposite of what their name is, taken to the sky. Well, right on past a 9. I was calling them 911, but it turns out they're 911. So, you know, the Porsche 911. But what do you think of this roster, right? BL was phenomenal recently for Brazil. Obviously is now a world champion from PNC. But this team is another one which it just keeps going to show how much talent Brazil is starting to bring through.
A little bit of a rotation dust up. Nothing crazy yet, as a New Gen All-Stars, you were talking about them a second ago. They're going to try to bypass most of this. So to give you guys an idea on the breakdown and what we're going to be looking at on the circle, we've got a couple of squads. Most notably, it is going to be 911 and Pest Control down the hill outside of Pachinki to the south of it. Fields have a little bit of a rotation problem, as there's not too many places to go. Corey is going to be held down by Bilu maybe. We also have Ying down to the south and Ferry Pier. Only one squad in Worms that opted to jump entirely across. So a lot of late rotations happening into the north. That's making it a little bit more complicated for these rotates. Scam should be fine unless they continue on their merry path a bit too much further over the west, but I think that they're using the hillside as a breakpoint.
Yeah, New Gen All-Stars lost Choppy a little while ago to the hands of the Bizzler as we watch Scam rotate on past. Nice headshot there from Frogman. He's able to land one, turns his attention over towards Plushy as these teams just try to hold the ground that they're handing. And you spoke about the spot they're playing just on the edge of Quarry. A bit of a wide split too when you look at how much ground the 4 players are taking, but I think this is a position you can hold with fewer players, particularly when you can entrench yourself like Frogman's doing right now.
It's good until the 4-man run-up happens, which seems like it happens presently around, I guess, circles 2 to 3. So as long as you have a decent idea on your control, because they've stretched all the way down to the hillside that's just to the north of Ferry Pier, and that's a very strong location inside the circle. So having one of their players playing 1 point on that gives them perfect regroup opportunity. Also gives them an idea and control on the field. So if they have to rotate around it, Hot and Spicy though, gonna go ahead and open up, get some damage. Doesn't want too much more. The circle pops, and it's going to lean right on top of FN as well as 911. So all those squads playing in the west, Bilu, ATF, they're all in some trouble.
Yeah, Hot and Spicy just tossing those nades to try buy himself some time. Like, in reality, he wasn't looking for kills. He was looking for the opportunity to get back into his UAs and rejoin the rest of the team who've fallen a little bit further back. So Pest Control managing to keep all players still alive and inside the server. They'll regroup. They'll get ready as Phase 2 has popped, Matt, and it's gone back towards, you know, the Dirty Dozens just about in play. But the big thing for me is look at how many teams we already have in and around the center of the circle just south of Potch.
Choppy's getting called back in, and yep, you kind of called it. We've got still so much of this in water. Worm's going to be playing down on military base, still kind of eyeing over. Looks like they did at least manage to secure a vehicle, so that's going to be good. ATF's going to have to regroup over into the northwest. That's going to be a pretty hard rotate. Bilu, who had themselves a great spot around Quarry, now in some trouble. Late rotators coming out of Severny and what we saw going really far up to the north. They're actually going to be pretty rewarded with this. Pachinki's going to be pretty fine. So there's just going to be the regroup over into the east where maybe Norg and New Gen All-Stars might be on top of each other.
Yeah, Gizera just keeping an eye now over towards Stokely. Remember, they've managed to get Choppy back on, but no org. Again, you look at this roster. It shouldn't be too long that these 4 players are sitting without one because there are 4 cracked guys on the server. But they'll rotate in. They've got a spot on docks. They can put Benja here on the docks itself. You can keep the rest of the players up on that cliff line overlooking it, and it just gives you so much control And what I love about this is Benya can basically be the forward scout here, Matt. He can keep an eye on everything that's happening over towards this side of the circle, and if he needs help, his teammates can swing and help him out.
Yeah, our focal team right now, I think, is going to mostly be for nothing. They've got a very nice split across a pretty decent control of the center of the circle. So it's going to be Jimu, Napoli, Nine, and Paulo Sam. Seen a couple of those players have some big moments before in the past. So it's going to be interesting to see now that they're going to be the focus of everything. To the west is going to be the harder area to play just due to the fact that it's still got those fields and all the nastiness coming into it. But Pachinki feels like it's become the stopgap point for a lot of our squads. We've got pretty much 5. I'll call 5 because we do have one that's about to kind of encroach into that area. And it's just kind of that no-org situation that you're talking about. I do also want to point out, Benya's gone for a flank. You can see him down on the mini-map there, bottom right. He's kind of seeing if he can keep an eye onto New Gen All-Stars, and this is a very strong contain angle for no-org because it denies any approach up onto that peninsula.
Yeah, and Choppy's going to have to work with whatever's been put inside that compound as well. Coming back in late, we'll need a new vest, need a new helmet, and need a few more guns in the back pocket as we get ready for that next circle shift. And remember, water ratio is no longer a thing. This could go anywhere from this point. And am I seeing the worms taking to the sky again? Yes, I am. So the worms, they went deep to Millie Island. Now they're going to have to go back up again.
Look, they're just playing old school, like, video game worms. Those things are flying all over the place, from explosions to ninja ropes and all that other stuff. So they're just doing it. They should be able to jump in. The bad part about this circle, though, is that it's mostly that field that we were talking about. FN's going to still have that strong control. They're going to go for a regroup and get that hillside that's got a lot of vision in pretty much the entirety of the circle. That means it's a death funnel up to the north and specifically to the west. 9/11 has at least managed to find a dip to stop at. But we're getting away with this type of positioning right now just because it's game 1. Once we start seeing more, yeah, I was going to say, there's just not going to be enough to allow it. It's going to be no org rolling through. Pippa gets a knock on to Bizzler. That's also going to be Pippa finding another one. This man, he knows how to get the angles. He's going to go down. Benya. Pippa still alive with Vinny right up in the face, but this got a lot more dusty than they want it.
Yeah, Pippa's going to try confirm out those kills as the Neas start to go off in the distance. Stokely is trying to come in and get involved here on the other side of things. Shinboy, the same as the New Gen All-Stars, realizes a chance to get some points on the board. Pippa will eventually pop the first aid kit, which we've been waiting on for quite a while, but he will then have to go for the rest. But this is a big opportunity, man, for New Gen All-Stars to get some points on the board.
But Vinny's got to hold all of this back right now. Vinny does manage to get the knock and a quick flush. Punich, though, gets the knock on to Vinny. Is the timing enough to allow a reset on the other side of it? It looks like at least one res has gone out. They're trying to get over to Gizera. So 2 down for New Gen All-Stars. Trying to see if they can prep up a nade. Pippa trying to see if he can keep the control angle yet again. But 2 players from New Gen All-Stars have great angles onto it. Gonna be running forward right into the smoke. They know where Pippa is, and he's got no cover. Finally jumps back into the car. And it looks like it's just getting too hot. He's got to go.
Yeah, Punich tried to pop the tire, but not able to do it. So he's going to go back and try get the res on the Choppy. It looks like Shinboy, he vaulted out of that car and was sent tumbling down to the beachfront, but should be an opportunity to go for that res as well. But keep an eye on what No Org are going to do. Back up to 3, everybody on the full HP, and Pippa's got himself on an off angle. And if Pippa can continue flanking and not get spotted out by, I think that is, you know, Jimu from FN, he could be in a pretty good spot. What a nade that is from Benya.
Looks like they are going to commit into the res onto Benya. Benya's going to commit onto Gizera, but they still have Scam and Gas that are holding back. Oakley's going to roll right up on top of him. New Gen All-Stars do go down, but they do at least manage to do the damage, and now Pippa's just kind of screwed, stuck over here with nowhere to go. Still, so far to even make it into the circle.
Yeah, look, he's inside the blue as well, taking 2 damage every single second that he sits there, so he's going to loot up to try get some meds. He looks to make his way in, but we know that 4-0 are going to hold them out. There is a compound that I think that maybe we could see Scam stopping for just a moment's time to regroup, but I think they're just going to send it directly in. But this is a good old-fashioned field finishing. Well, inside the fields is where the earthworms and the dirt could really find some success. But look at this rotate by Taysan going right between Duel and Pest Control.
I mean, it's the best play that they've got. They've got to try to avoid use some of the hillsides. 2 players now down, quick flushes, but where do you even go? It doesn't look like there was any pre-mortaring that I saw or anything else like that. So whenever we go heal, a lot of times you can kind of pre-mortar something. Like you can see that's what 9/11's playing from. The problem with it is it's also just extremely mortarable. As that nade's going to roll right on top of him. Biel finds it, and there is just one up. Hi, you're in some trouble. You're going to go down, and you know is eliminated.
Yeah, they are gone. 9/11 hold their ground using their nades to perfection, and they're up to 4 kills now. Level on top of the leaderboard, but it is, of course, just one map deep so far, so not really worth going into that in too much detail. We've got another angle here from Hot and Spicy. He gets a nice headshot onto Kiss. Looks to find another one. Switches over to the M249. The US going to land right on top, but he's not going to be able to stand tall. Evolve will get that knock and instant flush. The question is, though, with the blue closing in, will they just leave Kiss to his fate and focus on this rotating as we watch Kiss doing the same?
There's nowhere to go. Pest Control is just trying to cut off the angle. It looks like that's going to be Karam's job. Shane Doe's going to go ahead and finish off Kiss from back behind all of this. So now where do you go? A4A just kind of trapped over here. Pest Control at least has a foothold inside the circle. We also have FN that needs to come out from their high side hill that they've been playing for a long time. They pissed off a lot of people, and there's not a lot of places to go. So it's going to be Pest Control coming down the hillside. They managed to dodge out 9/11, but they know where they're at. This is probably just going to be a stop-off. Go for some nades, or is it? Are they out? Are they just stuck over here? Is Pest Control in that level? They could be in a lot of trouble over here. Now, Animaniacs has a great angle just to roll right up on him.
Yeah, Panzer's in the hands of Evolved as well. He's going to jump on out. Will he get the angle to fire it off? Dancing through the smoke, but will land the shot, but Animaniacs are going to get deleted. Karam has arrived, as is Joshy, so they'll get him back up and on their feet. But this is the thing, Matt. This is a position where, historically, it'd be so hard to play these fields, but with all the nades, all the utility being launched in here, there's just so many craters being created. And speaking of ones, there could be another one about to land right on the spot.
This is what I was worried about. This is way too fields, and if you've been watching any of the meta that's been going on internationally, mortars are defining it. If anybody's been able to put in a little bit of work with their mortar play, you can demolish squads the way that we see them all kind of stacked up around this, but not necessarily seeing that same result right now. It's a lot more run and gun. This is old school fields endings, as a lot of the players not really necessarily having the angles of control that they want to go for those mortars yet. It's all going to come down to the new circle. It pops, goes right on top of. Everything's fine.
Did we work out who Jimmy Guzman is yet? I don't think we have. But you're going to call him Jimmy, right? That's what you're going to do? You're going to give him the full Jimmy Guzman treatment.
Every single time somebody says Guzman, I always think of the actor and that section in Community, though. It's like the statue of Guzman they've got going. All right, so I don't know. We'll have to see. Jimmy Guzman, what you got for us, because you're going to have a lot of attention to the north. Duel's got to get in. Pest Control still has to limp their way into the circle, but down in the southeast, FN's going to be in a lot of trouble. It's going to be a lot of squads shooting them. Mostly a Hooligan from one side, and on the other side, I can't quite make out who that's going to be, but also Ying right in front of them.
Yeah, I think is it 9/11 they're firing this way as well, but Hooligan just about on the edge of the circle.
ALVT is what I was looking at.
Oh, so
I don't know that initial yet.
We'll learn. We will learn over the. It's Alavance is a Alavance is. We'll get the mortars dropped in on top of them. Draft King will get a nice knock on the Josh and Paolo. Sam, he gets naded out of there by Yappa from Ying Yang, but he's instantly traded back the other way as they go blow for blow with nades on the edge of the circle. Blue Zone, though, is going to start creeping in on them, and the problem, Matt, is as you enter Phase 5, and with players like we have in this lobby, you're going to go low on HP, and I think for Jimu, this is just his full send.
Yeah, there's nothing to be done. Ying's in some trouble. Looks like they're just trying to make it right over to that dip. Loki gets big punished. You can see he just goes for a peek around that and just almost gets dropped himself. Just nowhere to go. Now it looks like Tayson's also going to try to approach. They don't have too many options. Worm's holding them back, and yet again, it's just going to be the high ground coming up on the other side. Oh, Loki, you've done. Hooligan tries to defend and does a great job. Worms keeps control of the east.
Yeah, dug himself a little hole inside the shelter, and he is going to manage to hit back hard. 4 kills for the Worms now, as Enlan, Hooligan, and Libmaxing are still. I still can't believe I have to say that name on a broadcast. I'm not going to lie. As Joshy will work his way in here as well, but like there's just, if you're not in this circle already, it's just so hard to find anywhere to play.
Yeah, I was kind of shocked that we didn't see more mortars come in, because it really opens up your capabilities to just deal with all these guys that are in all the little hidey holes and cubbies is you can just counter right into where they're being played from, but instead it's just going to be Worms just kind of having to hunker down into old school fashion while Pest Control is going to try to run in. They're going to get dropped. It's just like you're talking about. Where do you even go? You still have the big squad down into the south, and Alavance, that's going to be, it's got to be French, right? Alavance?
Yeah.
That's holding that and kind of watching Worms, but it's just, I mean, is got center of the circle, but not really control over it.
Shh, it's a secret. Nobody knows they're there, and they've still got center circle. So now Alavance, you talk about it, they've got that rotate to make. I think Bilu, they're going to work their way in. I think that this for Duel is probably your best bet using that BRDM, but just look how much damage it is taking when so many players in the lobby are firing force, and it looks like they've found themselves a crater in the circle, and this ain't bad for Duel.
I mean, it's in the circle. It's right on the edge of the circle, and we're still at phase number 6, so it don't feel good, but it doesn't feel bad. It's better than pretty much what we're going to be looking at, having to go down to the south, where Alavance is going to have to make their rotate FN. Bilu, all these guys are going to be walking into the killing fields quite literally, because, I mean, what makes the grass grow? It's going to be blood.
Oh, I thought you were going to say something like water, but yeah. I guess in PUBG you're not wrong. As Kraken peeks on up, he's going to try to rise up from the depths and maybe take some more points on board for them. But like, you look at the circle, right? I'm looking at Bilu, and I feel like realistically is their best bet to maybe push north in towards ATF, or do they go for a different sort of send? Enland's going to get a nice shot on into ALVT. We were speaking about what their rotate was going to be like, and they found a crater as well, but this one's even worse than the Duel one, because this one is just about half and half inside the circle.
Coming down from that hillside, you'll take just about anything.
Yeah.
But you're right. It's going to be right there. I don't know really where you go after this. FN is just kind of trapped. They're probably going to die to blue zone. Maybe if they try to wrap in behind this, I don't know. I think that they're going to try to met it out. Bilu, they're just going to be eating a ton of blue. They've got the only compound that's really been in the circle for so long, and they pissed off a lot of people due to it, so they're going to walk into a crossfire. Duel is also now having to just kind of hold back 9-11, but it feels like the aggressors that are taking control over the circle are 9-11. They are coming in from that northeastern area, and they're just doing a good job on making sure to navigate the dips properly.
Yeah, it looks like Duel are down to a 3 here as well, so they're kind of on the northern side, but they'll just hope that maybe some attention will be drawn elsewhere. Bilu look like they're going to make that move kind of north towards the center of the circle, but with some foliage kind of in the way, they might get some shots off. Wooly, he's going to get one shot as we get the other from Beal, getting that knock onto Plushy, and this is looking pretty bad now for ATF, and I think this team, this ATF side, they're not really going to live up to the acronym, right? Alcohol, tobacco, and firearms, because they're going to get blown out of the water here by these nades.
Yeah, it's going to be really hard to handle. I don't even know really what you do. Duel's got such control over these angles of approach already. Sitting still like that for long enough to let that snipe go off has just been brutal efficiency coming up from Duel. Is, yeah, playing with 3. I don't know if they've been playing this whole time with 3 and they don't have their 4th, or if they just disconnected after dying, or what's happening there. But Bill Frost going to go down. Is the cost worth it? Because they're at least managing to stack some control over here. The circle abandons them, though, and they're going to be having to walk right into the defensive line of
Yeah, Panther's actually going to get there to get that res on the Beal as well, so they will live to fight another day, and what they need now is for somebody to force to kind of focus elsewhere, but that's not going to happen, because 9-11 have got their eyes on Duel. Sure, kind of picking their poison, which fight they want to go to. You think that Bilu could move in on them? Duel could as well. I think that Bilu are a bit more focused on ALVT on the edge of the circle to kind of clear up the southern side and focus more into the center. The Worms push is the one that I'm curious about, Matt. Like, are they just going to direct send it in, or do they kind of take the same approach? Maybe move up towards 9-11 to clear that section?
Well, they don't have the best approach due to 9-11's positioning. That's going to be one of the flattest sections of the field that we're looking at. Duel still has a little bit of a ridgeline that they can work with. They're trying to keep that kind of distance between them. Bilu is going to have nades and rain them down. At least Frogman's going to be able to get the flush. Now it's just going to be all on to Alavance to be in some trouble over here. The longer you manage to survive, though, that's going to keep Bilu distracted like you were talking about. There is a world where Duel can sneak in to an angle if gets distracted off of Bilu down to the south.
Yeah, and
But, I mean, Bilu's got the angle of approach. They've actually managed to get in the circle, and is just let him have it.
Yeah, and I think it's just the way that the terrain is working out. It's given Bilu just about the bit of space that they need, but they're still not all inside, right? Frogman's got to join Tavon or Night Avon. You've got Vinny, who's got to make his move. As you can see, the blue starting to move in, and as he steps on up inside the Dacia, you'll see a ton of teams focusing. But look at this, Alvinitz is going to step up and get lib-maxing. Quick knock and flush there from MCC. He falls at the hands of Draft King, and then there were 5, and Jimmy Guzman will find Night Avon.
Okay, the quiet is about to get really loud as Walsh has been playing pretty, I guess, defensive right now because they haven't had to deal with too much. 911 is getting more active into this northeast. You can see that there is this slight, I guess, increase on the hillside. This is what 911 has been using to navigate and take their firefights. They're about to start to lose it, though, once they get to the top. You can see it's going to be all across the circle, but they do at least have a crater to play. So it'll give them something in the level of control right next to where we see how do we hype in its positioning? It keeps throwing off my timing.
Yeah, you can't really go shh and get excited about it, can you?
Oh my God!
Yeah,
it just doesn't work.
You know what? They'll be the perfect backstab team, though. You know, like you say, 911 getting snuck up on by shh. But at the minute, it's them that have to kind of focus on it. Still 4 players strong.
Wait. Hello?
Hello. Hello, yeah, but brother, yo,
Come to me. Come to me. I have an emergency pickup. We get transported to the air transport. Come to me. Come to me. Attached to this. Let's go. Come, 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 come. Come here. Hurry, hurry. Press F. Okay. Just, no, press F and just wait. I think that's a good spot where I have marked. Oh, here, okay. Now. I will try to land on the roof. Let's go. Well,